Well, hey there, guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm often glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take time to take your live questions in the second half of the show. However, we usually don't have enough time to get around to all the live questions. But I want to make sure those questions get answered in a timely manner. So what we do is we gather up those unused questions and we address them here on companion videos. And since it was such a nice night out, an evening, I thought I would record today's companion video outside. Now, it's a little bit breezy, so you might hear some wind, and you might even see the camera shake a little bit. I apologize about that, but I thought it would be outside to do this installment of the companion video, so let's get right to it, shall we? We're going to start off here with Chad Furlong, who writes, I hate the idea of Fast and the Furious crossing with Jurassic Park. The hangover, though. There's a velociraptor in the bathroom. I'm here for it. The aftermath of a bachelor party to a dino park, got drunk and forgot letting the T-Rex loose. Brilliant. You know, it's funny because Aaron, we were talking about that potential crossover of Fast and the Furious and Jurassic Park. Aaron brought up a really good one saying, what about Fast and the Furious and Transformers? And that actually makes a lot of sense. But I like your idea of the hangover as well. All right, Caleb writes, who tips in like $20. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level, Caleb. Caleb writes, hey, John. I hope you're having an amazing day. I am, thank you. For the upcoming Spider-Man 3 movie, John Watts stated that he wanted Kraven the Hunter to be the villain of the movie. Do you think this means that Sony made him shoehorn the multiverse into the movie? Well, I mean, number one, I didn't hear him specifically say he actually wanted Kraven to the point that he went to the studio, said he wanted Kraven. I haven't heard that. Maybe that is the case. I'm just saying I haven't heard that. But clearly the idea of multiverse, shoehorning means you've already got your structure, you've got your mover, you got everything, and now you're forcing an element in that doesn't quite fit. It seems like the multiverse is kind of the whole idea of what's going on in this WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. So since the whole thing seems to be structured around that, it doesn't feel like they're shoehorning anything in. So I'm going to guess no on that. But that's just a guess. Who knows? I'm sure we'll find out more once we go. But, you know, John Watts has done such a good job with this franchise so far. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with number 3. All right. James Argento writes, other than Diggle, who has been confirmed to appear in Superman and Lois this year, do you think we will get any more Arrowverse characters to guest star like John Cryer as Lex to help beat other Lex, Barry after Bart visits in episode 150, or someone else? So I have heard reports that Diggle was going to appear in Superman and Lois. I don't know that I've seen anything confirming. Now, it may have been. I'm just saying I don't recall seeing anything confirming it, but he may. I'll be honest with you. I really don't care about the CW verse anymore. Now that, I mean, I still watch Flash, and I still like Flash. I just don't like it as much as I used to like it. Obviously, Arrow's gone. Black Lightning is going away. I've never really been all that into Legends of Tomorrow and things like that. So, frankly, I'm perfectly good them just keeping Superman and Lois completely isolated from everything else from the CW. What they will do, though, may be a completely different thing. But if it were up to me, and a lot of people I'm sure are very glad it's not up to me, I would just keep Superman and Lois as their own individual thing, isolated from everything else. That's how I would do it at any rate. All right, next up. Kamada writes, 1 of 4. Hey, John, greetings once again from Port Hope, Ontario. I really like Port Hope. It's a very pretty place. Big fan of the show. Just wanted to write in to ask you, what was it you loved about Port Hope? Well, I mean, it's just beautiful. It's that beautiful area, like kind of between Toronto and Kingston. It's got the river. It's right on Lake Ontario. It's just a beautiful place. Anyway, and were you here to check out Float Your Fancy Down the Granny? No, I'm not familiar with what that is. Also, been very hectic as we are planning to move, so I know what it's like to be under stress to go to a new house. Yeah, because obviously Ann and I just moved a couple months ago. Just wanted to say my congratulations on your move. Now on to movie topics. I'm with you on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I enjoy the show, but not as much as WandaVision. I'm really into Lucifer. I love Lucifer. I'm really into Lucifer at the moment, and it's truly a treasure. I've not gotten to the episode with the amazing Aaron Cummings, but so looking forward to it. By the way, John, you mentioned you hadn't had a chance to see For All Mankind Season 2 yet. Yeah, I really enjoyed Season 1, but I haven't had a chance to see Season 2 yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But it's fantastic. And finally, John, I did take your advice to watch your favorite series, Sons of Anarchy, and it's on my list of series to watch. I was about to watch Nomadland, which is great, by the way. It's truly, Nomadland is truly a special film that I think we'll be talking about for a long time. Anyway, and another movie, John, to watch is Supernova. It's a movie that my family totally loved. Well, there's a lot in there to unpack, but I will say this. You will love seeing Erin Cummings in Lucifer. It was one of my... I mean, I get excited whenever Erin tells me about anything that she's connected to. But obviously I was very, very excited about Lucifer because it's one of my favorite shows on TV, and it's great to see her in there. And I cannot wait for you to watch Sons of Anarchy. I think you'll get hooked onto it just like I did. And in the meantime, enjoy Port Hope. I certainly hope you're staying in Port Hope with the move, but if it's taken it elsewhere, I'm sure you're going to enjoy wherever it is you go. Thanks for writing that in, Kamada. All right, Dropkick Aggie writes, my prediction for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale. Sam, I want to wield the shield with honor, but still be my own hero. I will now be known as the Eagle. Kid, look, it's the Black Eagle. Sam, fuck it, Bucky, just take this damn thing. Yeah, there you go. Listen, I said from the beginning of Falcon and Winter Soldier that I think, even though it's not what I want them to do, I think they're going to end this series with Sam becoming the new Captain America. I would prefer he go by a different moniker. You know, I've said this for a long time. I don't want Bucky to be Captain America. I don't want Sam to, I think Steve Rogers is Captain America. All right? Everybody else can be called something else. But there is still a chance that he decides to go by a different moniker. Whether that's Eagle or Uncle Sam or whatever. We'll find out. We'll find out. But whatever way they go with it, I'm sure it's going to be great. All right, next up. Luke1234 writes, thank you so much for that great Getting Started in YouTube tech special you did last week. So for those who don't know, it's up on the front page of the YouTube channel. I did this little video called How to YouTube, which is a terrible title, but it's basically, a lot of people ask me questions quite often about YouTubing and how to get started in YouTubing and all that kind of stuff. So I basically did like almost 3.5-hour video taking live questions just about the tech aspect of it, the best practices, the philosophy aspect of it. And I had a really good time doing it, and I hope it was helpful. Anyway. With such a heavy amount of community interest in the subject, 3 hours and 20-minute video, do the chances increase that you may do more behind-the-scenes videos like that? Yeah, I like doing behind-the-scenes videos. I don't know how much other people like it, but I do enjoy doing those, so I will probably do more of those in the future. And because so many questions came in about just the basics of YouTubing, I may do a part 2 to that sometime in the next month or two. So if you're interested in that, make sure you leave a comment and let me know. Okay. Thanks for that, Luke1234. Mikey Roberts Meyer Burnett writes, John, you always say if Marvel Studios says it's canon, then it's canon. I don't ever recall saying that specifically, but okay. According to Louis D'Esposito, Cap could always lift Mjolnir. So if you now dispute this, aren't you just as bad as any fan who argues with Feige and Marvel about their own canon? Love you. No, because there is no agreement within the circles of Marvel. Many Marvel executives disagree. So there's no one unified Marvel voice that says he could always lift the hammer. The writers of Age of Ultron, for example, said no, he couldn't. Others in Marvel, like Louis D'Esposito, has said, yeah, he could. So it's a different thing altogether. Even within Marvel themselves, they don't have agreement on this issue. So doesn't count, Mikey. Unless all of Marvel agrees, it doesn't count. All right, next up. Brand Solis writes, I've always hated the pass the mantle talk. I do too. In my mind, it's not a mantle. It's who the character is. Steve is Cap. I completely agree with that. Steve is Cap. Steve is Cap. It's like if you'd pass me the mantle of being John Campea, and all of a sudden I'm John Campea, and I have Peter Jackson's phone number. That's an inside joke that goes back a little bit. But no, I agree with you. Like, that's why if somebody else wants to protect Gotham, go by a different name. Don't call yourself Batman. If somebody else wants to be Captain America, but John, in the comics, I don't care about the comics. I mean, I care about the comics, but this is the MCU. This isn't the comics. I think Steve is Captain America. That's who he is. If you want to carry on his legacy, you go by your own name. But that's not the way comics have often done it. So, you know, Green Lantern has passed the mantle, Flash has passed the mantle, all that kind of stuff. So I live with it, but I am in agreement with you, Bran. I'm in agreement with you. Anyway, Boris writes, hey, John, do you have any continuity pet peeves that you see in movies/TV shows? My biggest one is when someone switches bodies or someone possesses somebody else. They don't have the accent. It's so dumb and rarely done with at least some common sense. I've heard this debate before. I've never myself had this debate, but I've heard this debate before. And my take on it is this, is you could make the argument that if you take over somebody else's body, that includes their brain. And maybe their brain is wired to speak a certain way. That's not a really good thing. But then again, it's complete science fiction. The idea of one person taking over another person's body anyway. So I'll cut it a little bit of slack there. I can't think of any continuity. I have many movie pet peeves. But continuity ones, I can't think of any off the top of my head. But yours is one that I have thought of before, Boris. So I see where you're coming from on that. All right, next up, the Wakandan Forever writes, I'm just like you. I saw the Star Trek episode with the half aliens. Oh yeah, I love that episode. If Rob's there, and obviously no one else is here right now, what other episodes do you recommend? John, open your eyes. My shoelaces are black, yours are white. How can we possibly coexist? We are all one tribe, Wakanda forever. So I was talking the other day about, favorite Star Trek episodes and things, and I can't remember exactly what brought it up, but there was this, I remember, we were talking about how Star Trek was constantly, even the original Star Trek series, was a show that made a lot of cultural observations, political commentary, things like that, but it dressed it up in a sci-fi veneer, like that one great episode where there are the two aliens, they're all black on one side and all white on the other side. But they seem to hate each other, and they call each other like dirty race. It's like the Enterprise says to them, like the crew says, but you're the same race. And they're like, are you blind? He's black on the left. I'm white on the left. I mean, it's so ridiculous, but that's how we as a species probably look to aliens looking at us for the way we fight. Anyway, my all-time favorite Star Trek, the original series episode, it's very stereotypical to say because I think this always wins all the polls, but is their iconic episode, The Trouble with Tribbles. The Trouble with Tribbles, for so many reasons, is my all-time favorite episode, so that's mine. All right. Orange Hand writes, what is the worst costume you've ever seen in a high-profile and/or blockbuster film? In the same vein, what is the worst professional sports uniform you've ever seen? I would have to think about the sports one. I'm not really sure about that. High-profile movie, worst costume? I assume we're talking like superhero costume. I can't think of one in movies off the top of my head. I know in TV, it's actually a show I've loved, which is Black Lightning. I love Black Lightning. The costume's horrible. But John, it's just like it is in the comic book. Again, I don't care what it's like in the comic book. It looks horrible. A terrible, terrible costume for a show I really, really like. So I'm going to go with Black Lightning on that one, Orange Hand. All right, Eddie Burton writes, so it's great Godzilla vs. Kong is almost at 400 million worldwide. Yep, it's already passed Godzilla King of the Monsters. Godzilla vs. Kong in a pandemic with limited theater capacity and a bunch of people having the option just to watch at home on HBO Max has passed the box office of Godzilla King of the Monsters. Let that sink in. That's huge. Anyway, it's great that Godzilla vs. Kong is almost at 400 million worldwide. But in a non-pandemic world, it probably would have crossed 800 million by now. Maybe yes, maybe no. Hard to speculate that. Do you think studios are cautious to release high-budget films, still considering it's such a gamble to make their money back? See, I don't think so because, look, Godzilla vs. Kong. Let's not pretend that Godzilla and the Kong movies are big, massive blockbusters. They've never made a whole ton of money. Like I said, Godzilla King of the Monsters didn't even crack $400 million. It made like $380-something million worldwide. So I don't think we can just assume, that Godzilla vs. Kong would have made $800 million. I don't see any, real tangible proof to suggest that that's true or that's the way it would be. I mean, maybe it would have made $600 million or maybe it would have made $550 million. I mean, we just don't know, and the realities we'll never know. The fact is, this Godzilla vs. Kong movie made more money than the previous installment of this franchise right now. So instead of that being a cause of caution for the other studios, I think the other studios look at that as a cause for optimism. So, I mean, how that'll ultimately turn out, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, thanks for writing that in, Eddie. Next up, Mad Modigan's Cardigan writes, John, Brains are fascinating. Dress Chad Smith as Will Ferrell's elf, and your brain may see Will Ferrell. No, it wouldn't. Not mine. Anyway, put Zach Braff, Will Kristen Bell, and your brain sees Dak Shepard. Put Sam Wilson in a smiling tiger outfit, and boom, the brain is easily tricked. No, not when it's somebody who is worldwide famous as Falcon. So we've moved past this issue a long time ago. I'm right about this. I am so right about this. Anyway, Windwalkers 57 writes, they will never let a black man be Captain America. And even if they did, no self-respecting black man would ever want to be. They are pulling zero punches in a Disney show. The front entrance of Disney Park is Main Street, USA. Holy hell. I mean, but here's the thing too. I've heard a lot of discussions, and I've been a part of a lot of discussions over this week about that scene in Falcon and Winter Soldier in particular, with Isaiah saying they'd never let a black man be Captain America, and no self-respecting black man would ever want the title. Remember, that is not Marvel saying that. That is that character with his unique, terrible, and horrifically tragic background speaking. That isn't Kevin Feige speaking. It's not Marvel speaking. It's like, it reminds me of when, we bring this up a lot, in Clint Eastwood's masterpiece movie, $1 Million Baby. When he decides to help the girl at the end commit suicide because she was going to be paralyzed for the rest of his life, a lot of people got upset at Clint Eastwood saying, Clint Eastwood thinks that, handicapped people should just kill themselves. It's like, no, that's what this character did. It's what this character, with his background and his mind and his way of seeing the world, it's what this character did. Not what Clint Eastwood thinks, not what the studios thinks. And I think with Isaiah, I think it's very important to understand it's what Isaiah had to say. And also remember, Sam said, Isaiah doesn't even think I should be carrying on this fight, but I think I do need to carry on this fight. So you got to look at it that way too. But it was such a powerful scene filled with depth and meaning. I absolutely loved it. All right, next up. Ralphie's World writes, good evening, John and co. Obviously, it's just me right now. With the Oscars approaching, and I know you have no interest, it's almost a given that Soul will win Best Animated Movie. Never say it's a given at this point. Although it is the front runner for sure. But have you seen one of the other nominated movies, specifically speaking about Over the Moon? It's a beautiful movie about losing family and learning how to accept new family into your life. It's the most non-Disney Disney movie out there. It takes place in Asia, and the songs rival anything Disney has put out recently. You won't see mooncakes the same way without singing the song, and the beginning of the movie rivals that of Up. The beginning of the movie deserved the Academy nomination for that alone. Well, I gotta say, no, I have not seen Over the Moon yet. I don't even know many people. I think I know one person. Who has seen it. I haven't seen it myself. The one person I said they really liked it, but I really don't know much else about it. Other than that, and partially because, Ralphie, you said it yourself, I have zero interest in the Oscars this year, which is very weird for me because Oscars is my second favorite day of the year. Christmas is my favorite day of the year. Oscars are more important to me than my birthday. But this year, I think it's an asterisk year. I don't even think they should be holding an Oscars this year, so I'm honestly not paying that much attention to it. And you can agree or disagree with me, that's your prerogative, but yeah, I have very little interest. But I do want to see this movie at some point. I haven't had the chance to watch it yet, but thank you for the recommendation on that, Ralphie. Okay, next up, Russell Amador writes, hey, John, if this becomes a main topic, I totally get it, but if not, what did you think of Alfred Molina's comments about Doc Ock's return in Far From Home? Obviously, that was a main topic on the John Campea Show earlier today. Return from Far From Home. He said it continues right where Spider-Man 2 ended. That's interesting, because I thought he died. Well, there's two things to keep in mind, Russell. He did not say that his character picks up right where Spider-Man 2 left off. What he did say specifically is that in his early conversations with John Watt, the director, that he said that Doc Ock would pick right up where he died. So obviously, maybe his idea was a rip opens up in the multiverse, and just before he dies, he gets sucked out, whatever. But it's important to note that he specifically said their initial conversations were that. Now, a lot of details can change in a movie's plans in the years that's in development until they finally start shooting. So they may or may not do that. Otherwise, it's a very interesting proposition. I think it's very interesting that at least the idea is that it's the same Doc Ock that we saw in Spider-Man 2. So whether or not they actually stick to that plan, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, Rob and I give much further elaborate details on our thoughts on this on today's John Campea Show, so you can just go back and check out our section on that. It'll probably give you a much fuller answer. But anyway, thanks for writing that in, Russell. All right, an anonymous viewer writes, "Hey John, I love both the Conjuring and Insidious movie universes. Patrick Wilson feels like a cheating spouse because he's a star in both similar franchises. Am I being oversensitive? If Robert Downey Jr. also played Batman, would that be weird? No, and because listen, it's not like we haven't had several big performers play big roles. I mean, again, look, we often talk about Chris Evans. He was the Human Torch. That's a pretty big deal. He was the Human Torch in Fox's Fantastic Four, and now he's Captain America. He was also in another comic. He was in two other comic book-based films. One was Push. Now, I don't know if that was actually based on a comic, but it was still a superhero genre kind of movie called Push. And then he was in another movie based on a graphic novel, which was called The Losers, that he did with Jeffrey D. Morgan and Idris Elba. Idris Elba has also been in multiple comic book movies, right? So, yeah, no, I don't think it would be weird at all. Actors act, and they're different things. So I honestly don't think there's anything about it feels weird in the least. At least I don't think so. I mean, some other people might, but I personally don't think there's anything to feel weird about. Okay, next up. So we're going to ignore that rights. So yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is looking hella good. She is looking really good, by the way. Is looking hella good and is an awesome surprise. I was so shocked to see her pop up in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm not going to lie to you. I was really, really surprised by that. Pleasantly surprised, but really surprised nonetheless. I thought, oh, that's cool, and moved on. However, what really pulled me out was that stunt double in Sam's training montage was laugh my ass off. Huh? Who's the new guy? You know what? Here's something funny. Somebody else wrote in and said the same thing, that they thought it was really bad effects work. You could totally tell that that was a stunt double. I'm not going to lie. When I watched it, I didn't really think that stood out. I thought they did a pretty good job hiding that it wasn't Anthony Mackie doing all the parkour flips and everything. I thought it looked pretty good, but I'm hearing from more and more people that thought it looked pretty bad. But oh well, I guess I'm in the minority on that. I actually thought it looked all right. Okay, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC writes. Sharon is a villain. Undeniable proof. Sharon has an Android phone. I'm not the one who noticed it, but thought it was funny. If it's a Windows phone, she's Mephisto. Remember that? Remember Windows phones? Listen, I've used almost every kind of phone. Like, I was an iPhone guy for a while. I'm now an Android guy. But I use an iPad. Actually, my iPad is my favorite computing device that I own. It's not the most powerful computing device that I own. That's obviously my desktop, which is a PC. But my iPad, I got a MacBook that I use as my laptop, but I use an Android phone and a PC. So I cover all the bases. I never did own a Windows phone. I mean, there was one time I was a little bit tempted because at first I thought it's actually Windows on the phone, but then I found out, no, it's not really. It's like its own operating system. You can't really do what you can. So, and then of course, Windows phones very quietly went away. I wouldn't doubt it if sometime in the next 5 years, Windows re-enters the market in making mobile phones. Now, they already did that Duo. Remember that one phone that flips open like a book, but it runs Android. It doesn't run a Windows operating system. But I wouldn't doubt if in the next 5 years or so, we see Windows try to get back in the game. Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll find out. Okay, next up, we got Teddy D. And Teddy D writes, "Hey John, are franchises / universes replacing tropes and director / actor pairings? Scorsese and De Niro / Leo, Burton and Depp, Monty Python, even Broken Lizard. I feel like we won't get a standalone groups moving forward unless connected to a franchise. The only exception being Judd Apatow." I was going to mention Judd Apatow actually and his whole crew. The only exception being Judd Apatow and whoever is currently getting high at Seth Rogen's house. Those movies are forever. Well, here's the thing. It's not like we were getting Leo Scorsese movies every year. right? And by the way, we are still getting Leo and Scorsese movies. Like we got Killers of the Flower Moon coming up. I do think we are going to see, and by the way, there are other directors that like to continuously work with the same actor. We've seen it happen a lot. Mark Wahlberg and, why am I forgetting the name of the guy who directs him in almost everything? I'm forgetting the name of the director, but Mark Wahlberg works with the same director like every other movie. So I don't think that's gone away. I think there will always be that. Filmmakers will always have their favorite actors to work with. Actors will always have a director they feel more comfortable being in their hands. So, but it's never been like every week a movie comes out where a certain director is paired with a certain actor. It's never been like that. It's always been the odd thing here and there, but I think that's going to continue. Okay, next up. An anonymous viewer writes, "Hey John, I want to play a game. Name that good Canadian kid, okay? I helped plan a Steve Martin wedding." Martin Short. There's not a lot of answers when you start. Who's the good Canadian kid? The moment you, so any hint you're going to give, I'll probably get on the first. But yeah, it's Martin Short. Went to McMaster University in my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, by the way. And I was injected with miniature human beings. If you still don't know who, I'm ask the other two amigos. Of course, he's one of the three amigos as well. Ned in the Three Amigos. I love Martin Short. I think he's great. Anyway, next up. R.I.P. writes, Helen McCrory. Yeah, I read about her passing. It was really sad to hear that. What a starlet. Carried the Shelby family as Polly Gray, the Malfoy family in Harry Potter 2, and even wifed up stud Damian Lewis in real life. Cheers to the Lady Macbeth. And I read a really nice kind of tribute that Damian Lewis wrote. And it was, look, I'm not going to pretend like I was a big fan of hers. I didn't know her work like very well. But I remember reading Damian Lewis's thing, and it's like, it was very moving and very powerful, and it was really, really sad to hear that. Anyway, thanks for throwing that in there, man. That's really good of you. All right. Tronathan writes, 3 of 3. Did I miss 1 of 2? Hold on a second. I'm not seeing parts 1 or part 2. Well, this happens sometimes. Okay. Tronathan writes, to me, I won't go that far to say anything beyond awful or terrible, but that doesn't mean people should feel the same way. I hope I clear that up. By the way, I burst out laughing when you called me out. Oh, I remember this. Okay, when you called me out, LOL, I deserved it. You rock. Okay, so, all right. First of all, Tronathan, very good of you to write that in. I don't know what happened to parts 1 and part 2, but so Tronathan wrote in the other day, kind of admonishing me, and I assume that you're writing in, it just didn't come across the right way, admonishing me that I sound unprofessional. I shouldn't use words like garbage or terrible when reviewing movies because it makes me sound unprofessional, to which I said, go fuck yourself. But obviously, it probably came across more harsh than you intended. That's very good of you to follow up, Tronathan. Thank you so much, man. That actually makes me feel really good. That's very classy of you, so thank you so much for sharing that, and I'm glad you're a viewer, man. All right, next up. Narf writes, what if we find out in Falcon the Winter Soldier finale that Hayward is a villain? Or the power broker himself? Of course, we had a lot of debates while WandaVision was on over whether Hayward is actually a villain. To me, and I stand by this still, Hayward was not a villain. He was a dick. And you can even say he was an antagonist, but he was not a villain. Like, he wasn't trying to collect power. He wasn't trying to take over the world. He was not trying to wipe out the human race. I mean, he's basically on the right side of all those issues, but misguided and act like Thunderbolt Ross, acts like a dick. So I never thought he was a villain. I still see him more as an antagonist, but not a villain. So, but imagine if he was the villain. He's the power broker. Wouldn't that turn everything on its head? All right. We got time for a couple more here, guys. Narf also writes, I couldn't stop laughing so effing hard yesterday to your reaction to somebody's dumbass question for the Falcon Winter Soldier. I know what that one is. Spoiler discussion part 2. I literally spit out my Pepsi rolling. LOL. Thanks for the entertainment. So for those of you who don't know, some moron wrote in yesterday, oh, I don't like this race stuff in Falcon Winter Soldier. I didn't like that they had Bucky apologize for being white, which I'm not going to repeat what I said in the part 2 of the open spoiler discussion. But I called out for the I called them out for the ignorance on that, because that was a supremely ignorant thing to say. Number one, it completely misrepresents what's actually happened in the show, and it totally exposes probably a raging racist. So yes, it bothered me. Anyway, Narf also writes, I saw an Instagram video of Zemo dancing to the song Agatha Long. I have not seen that, but I'll tell you what, if any of you guys have a link to that, to Zemo dancing, but instead of to that club music to Agatha All Along, I would like to see that for one. So please feel free to send that to me. I would love to see that. Okay, Murray Reich writes, I saw Voyagers. I haven't gotten around to seeing that yet, but partially because I heard it's absolutely terrible. Even though I really like, I really like the concept, the whole thing about it. It sounds great, and I love Colin, but I've heard it's absolutely terrible. And I thought the trailers looked really weird too. Anyway, I saw Voyagers, and it was just okay. I couldn't help but wonder if this movie is straight out of ripoff of The Lord of the Flies or not. I said the exact same thing after I saw the trailer. I said the exact same thing. I said, so it's Lord of the Flies in space? Anyway, I couldn't tell if it was a ripoff of Lord of the Flies or not. Felt like it was a beat for beat with some ending changes. Characters were bland, no emotional connection to any of them. 4 out of 10. Yeah, I know a couple of people who saw it who said, like, you're being generous compared to what some of the people I know said. Somebody I know from that studio said to them it was the worst movie they've ever seen. Now that's saying a lot, and it's probably not that bad, but it didn't look good. It looked like a Lord of the Flies ripoff. Nothing looked very compelling on it other than Colin Farrell, who I think is great. And yeah, not a lot of great things to hear about it otherwise. But hey, at least you didn't think it was complete garbage, Murray. Maybe sometimes okay is better than absolutely horrible. All right, and then we're going to wrap up this little outdoor companion video here today with Jojo Giraffe, who writes, I just watched Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Rooney Mara and Daniel Craig. I love that movie. For the first time. Wow, absolutely incredible. Easily one of David Fincher's best films. Too bad it didn't do well enough at the box office to warrant the planned sequels. Which is too bad too, because it actually did pretty well at the box office. Anyway, especially since Craig and Mara both said they wanted to return. To anyone who hasn't seen it, be warned. It does have some really unsettling scenes, absolutely. If you've seen it, you know the scenes. But it's a great film. Your thoughts on the film, John? I love it. Now, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is actually a English remake of a foreign film, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, that went on to become a whole series of films. And it is one of the rare films that, to me, this English remake is better than the original. And a lot of people get mad at me when I say that, and that's fine. It doesn't happen often, but this is one of those few examples to me that I thought this remake was even better than the original. And I loved the original, but I thought this one was even better. So yeah, I really adored it. I liked it a lot. I hear that it wasn't so much about the box office results, but I heard that Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara, I heard there was contract disputes and they wanted a lot more money for the sequel, and they couldn't justify paying them that much and still, make money on the movie. So, I mean, what the real story is, I don't know, but it is too bad that they never did get around to making that, because it could have been pretty fun. Okay, listen, for more questions to come, Kung Fu Hot Dog, Ryan Lohner, Frankie Goosh, Tyler Pfeiffer, and others, tomorrow morning on the tomorrow it's in the afternoon, but tomorrow on the John Campea Show, we will start off our live questions part of the show, picking up right there with your questions. But guys, for now, that'll do it for this installment of our companion videos. Thank you so much for letting me sit outside. I know it was probably annoying with the camera shaking back and forth, and you could probably hear noise in the background, whatever, but thank you for letting me do this. I don't just sit outside enough, and thanks for letting me do that, guys. All right, guys, in the meantime, remember, do the 4 main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. That'll do it for me for now, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.